All right. The constant criticism of Israel, our strongest ally, only emboldens Iran. I think reasonable people can agree on that. Michael Hanlon is here, Senior Fellow and Director of Research in Foreign Policy for the Brookings Institution. Michael, it's always good to see you. As we noted, sometime it will be under better circumstances, but that'll probably be a drink outside of the office rather than talking on TV about the Middle East. I listened carefully to what President Biden was talking about, an immediate ceasefire, all sorts of aid coming in to Gaza, et cetera. How are President Biden's demands now all that materially different on Israel than, say, Hamas's?
Well, I think President Biden is searching for a fairly elusive policy. It's very hard to want to be tough on Israel as a friend. As you know, we're providing them much of their weaponry. We do not oppose the fundamental goal of their military operation, which is the elimination of Hamas as a viable organization. And yet we feel that Israel is not doing enough to protect innocent Palestinian life. The problem is, and I happen to agree with all those vantage points, the problem is, how do you craft a new policy that would be more effective in protecting life while still going after Hamas? You know, in the United States, we learned the hard way after 9/11. We all wanted to make sure al-Qaeda could never function again, or rise from the ashes once we went after it. And we learned that probably going after its leadership and then trying to go after its ideology were the two most realistic things, plus putting a lot of restrictions on finance and travel. But you couldn't really eliminate the organization altogether. So Israel's going to have to figure out a more realistic end state. And rather than talk just about ceasefires, I'd rather talk about what's a realistic strategic objective for 3 to 6 months from now, and then work back from that. That, to me, is what the conversation is lacking right now.
The only way to do that, though, is to destroy Hamas, right? The only way for there even to be a chance of peace with the Israelis and the Palestinians is to destroy Hamas, because Hamas's stated goal is to destroy the state of Israel. And I can't figure out why the Biden administration doesn't get. Maybe I should back up. They don't get. It's not that they don't get it. Maybe it's that they can't sell it because of the domestic political constraints. But I'm wondering if in your analysis, the search for the domestic political solution, which is this enormous pressure from pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas wing of the Democratic Party, is actually creating, I think this is what you're saying, bad foreign policy.
Well, I'm not trying to be that political, because I understand everyone's frustration with this situation, both Israelis and Palestinians, Democrats and Republicans. But I think we should think a little more strategically. So I believe, for example, the Israelis should allow much more humanitarian relief and should agree to a ceasefire. But we should also say that it's realistic and reasonable of them to want to decimate the leadership of Hamas. You're not going to get the whole organization. We couldn't get all of al-Qaeda. The Israelis are not going to get all of Hamas. I understand why they want to get all the leadership. So I think we need to allow for the fact that after a ceasefire, which would allow for a lot of food to flow in, the Israelis are going to have to resume some degree of military operations. And they're going to have to try to use some of our counterinsurgency techniques from the Iraq surge under General Petraeus. And they're going to have to go in and try to go after these tunnels and leadership targets and weapons caches and command and control sites. But right now, they're going to have to first protect the lives of the Palestinian people. I think you can say both those things at the same time. My problem with the public diplomacy here is we're not saying both those things at the same time. We're trying to tweak the issue day by day. And I'd rather have us come out with a clear, broader vision. And then we can be critical about specific disagreements with Israel without sounding like we're just sort of searching for an elusive strategy that's not necessarily there.
Yeah, look, if you have strategic goals, it's a lot easier to figure out where you're going. We would be remiss if we didn't mention Sunday will be 6 months since the attacks. And the one word didn't come up in our conversation, and I always think it's important to mention, is the hostages, is a goal of bringing them home. Michael, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Leland.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.